Nemesor Zahndrekh and Vargard Obyron tactics. Time for another Win with Necrons video.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, more Necron tactics for you, and in this one we're going to cover Nemesor and Vargard. Before that though, if you would like to keep up to date with the wonders of Warhammer 40k, then please give me a sub and hit the bell button so you don't miss an upload. Okay, so in today's video we're going to look at Nemesor and Vargard, two more HQ choices. Now the reason why I put these together in one video is they do have a special rule which does work together. Now we're going to have a look at Nemesor first. And now my model for Nemesor is a conversion that was very kindly done for me by Zach Garnage. If you haven't heard of Zach Garnage's channel yet, I'll put a link to it just there. Head on over and give him a sub. Okay, so let's have a look at the stats of Nemesor. Okay, so Nemesor can move 5 inches. He's got a weapon skill and a ballistic skill of 2+. He's strength and toughness of 5. He has 6 wounds with 3 attacks. He's leadership 10 with a 2+ save. His keyword factions are Necrons and Zahndrekh. His keywords are Character, Infantry, Overlord, Nemesor Zahndrekh. Okay, so that was the stats of Nemesor. He's basically a beefed up Overlord. Those stats looking very, very similar with the exception of a better save. So he's got a 2+ save as opposed to that 3+ save. He also gains an extra wound. Now this guy is about 60 points more than an Overlord, but he does have a few extra bonuses as well as those better stats. Now Nemesor is a named character, so of course you can't change any of its war gear. However, it does come with a Staff of Light, which we've covered previously. Is actually not a bad weapon for close combat, and also has a little shooting attack, which isn't too bad either. Now as standard, he comes with living metal, and he also has a phase shifter. So that's a 4+ invulnerable save. So with a 2+ save, a 4+ invulnerable save, and 6 wounds, this guy's looking pretty good for the extra 60 points. Now Nemesor also has counter tactics, and this is a fantastic ability. It's only 12 inches, but in your enemy's turn, you're able to target a character within 12 inches of this guy and basically take away all of its aura abilities. Now that is pretty powerful, and potentially this could be the Necron answer to Reboot Gilliman. But of course it is short range, so you've got to get this guy in close. Now we'll talk about tactics in a second. Let's have a look at more stats. Now just like the Overlord, he also has Thy Will Be Done, but this time it's just on any Zahndrekh infantry units. 6 inches, you can give +1 to hit, advance and charge rolls to 1 unit. But on top of that, he also has another special rule, Transient Madness. Now this special rule works on top of Thy Will Be Done, but it is random. So the idea is you roll a dice, a d3, and then you get a chart, which we'll go through in a second, where you get an extra ability. Once you've rolled your dice, you can give that extra ability to any Zahndrekh infantry units within 6 inches. So you choose 1 unit, but you do it after you found out what the roll is. And that could be really useful. It could be the difference between giving it to, say, flayed ones, or maybe giving it to immortals. Okay, so the 3 abilities are +1 to attack, +1 to ballistic skill, and a re-roll of the assault. Now re-roll the assault, it's not bad, although you're probably not going to be assaulting too much, but it could be useful if you have nearby flayed ones. Again, for +1 attack, nearby flayed ones, very useful. However, don't rule out giving +1 attack to warriors. Warriors with 2 attacks, that's very nice, especially a big blob of 20 of them. But of course, the one that we're really after is +1 to the ballistic skill. That's turning your shooting into very powerful shooting for a unit nearby, especially if you combine that with Thy Will Be Done. Imagine heavy destroyers or destroyers re-rolling 1s to hit because of their hardwire hatred, and then turning those 1s into 2 from this guy. So basically you're pretty much auto hitting. Now the other good thing about having +1 to your ballistic skill is if you want to shoot flyers, it means that you're going to ignore the flyer special rule to change your ballistic skill. So that can be quite useful too. And of course don't forget that you can use this special rule on a different unit to the unit that you're using Thy Will Be Done. So effectively you could give +1 to hit to 2 units, and that's from 1 guy, the same as what 2 Overlords could do just for 60 points more. Now yes, you're not always going to do that, but if you roll well, you could be doing that 2 or 3 times in a game. Okay, so that is everything that Nemesor can do, and as you can see, for the 60 points more, he potentially can do what 2 overlords can do, which is really nice to see. And in actual fact, if you're only going to take 1 HQ, then arguably I think Nemesor could be the choice to look at. Now the great thing about Nemesor is that he can be multi-rolled, he can be multi-tasked. He can just sit at the back and buff units very happily, but also with that counter-attack tactics, he can be really useful for pushing forward, especially if you have annoying characters with good auroras. Now being able to take away aurora abilities on a character is really useful. Now you may find a lot of the characters will actually come towards you, so you could keep Nemesor at the back and wait for those characters to come towards you, or of course you could push him forward to the rest of your phalanx. And that is the great thing about this character, he can fit many roles. Now getting close to a character like Rabute Guilliman can be an issue. Your counter tactics is only 12 inches, but you do have the option with this guy to push him forward, probably supported by a big blob of warriors. Now we're going to talk more about getting closer to your enemy in a second, but first of all we need to have a look at our next character, Vargard Obyron. So let's have a look at his stats. Okay, so Vargard can move 5 inches, he's got a weapon skill of 2+ and a ballistic skill of 3+. He's strength and toughness 5 with 6 wounds. He has 3 attacks with a leadership of 10 and a 2+ save. His faction keywords are Necrons and Zahndrekh. His keywords are character, infantry, lord and Vargard Obyron. Okay, so that is his stats. Now Obyron comes in at just over 160 points, and the only difference between him and Nemesor is that ballistic skill, so shooting on 3s rather than 2s. But that doesn't really make any difference because Vargard only has a warsight, he doesn't have a shooting attack. Now the warsight is better in close combat than the Staff of Light, and it indicates that this guy likes to be in close combat. And this is backed up with the special rule Cleaving Counterblow. So if he dies in close combat and he hasn't attacked yet, he gets to attack before you remove him from the table, so at least he can deal some damage. Now as you would expect, this guy also has Living Metal, so he can regain a wound each turn. He also has the Lord's Will. Now this is on any Zahndrekh units that's within 6 inches, they can re-roll their morale. Now Vargard also has 2 more special rules, and these are dedicated towards Nemesor in your army. That's why we're talking about these 2 units together in this one video. Vargard effectively is a bodyguard for Nemesor. So let's have a look at those special rules. Okay, so the first special rule is Ghost Walk Mantle, and this allows you to remove Vargard from the table and also 1 friendly Zahndrekh infantry unit within 6 inches from the table. You can then bring them down next to Nemesor within 6 inches of Nemesor and within 1 inch of your enemy. Now once you're close to Nemesor, the special rule, the Var Guards Duty, comes into effect. Now this is within 3 inches of Nemesor. Every time Nemesor takes a wound, you roll a dice on a 2+, Vargard takes that wound instead. Now it does turn into a mortal wound, so he can't save it, but he does have 6 wounds. So this guy is really useful for keeping Nemesor alive. And of course we know what Nemesor's doing, he's trying to take away the aura abilities from your enemy. So having Nemesor alive for longer is really good. Now the main issue you've got is getting close to your enemy with Nemesor to be able to bring Vargard in. Now of course you could deploy Vargard and Nemesor next to each other and just walk them up as a blob. Of course that means you're not taking advantage of the Ghost Walk Mantle where you can deep strike him in and get everyone in close. And this is where it becomes a little bit awkward for me. Yes, we do have a few options, one being the Deceiver. We could use the Deceiver to redeploy Nemesor, get Nemesor in close, and then use Vargard's ability to teleport over, maybe with a big blob of warriors. Of course, if the Deceiver rolls well, you could bring other units over with the Deceiver as well. You could really actually get quite close to your enemy and cause them quite a few problems with those 2 characters. But of course, that is a big investment of points. Now, is it worth it? Well, I think Nemesor is definitely worth it. Nemesor by himself is fantastic. Vargard, I think, is fun. I think could be an option, a possibility. Personally, I wouldn't build an army list around using this particular tactic. don't think it's worth the investment, and it's not really worth taking Vargard by himself without Nemesor either. But I would really love to know what you think. Do you think this combination is worth the points? Have you been using it? What has the success rate been like? What units do you take over with Obyron? Let me know in the comments box below. Beam me up!